What's up, people? Jay and Cass here with another edition of this show. Yeah, this show. Still working on it, folks. But yeah, we got a few things that we're gonna talk about on this specific occasion. There's like this interpromotional social media war that's going on right now between Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy, based off of everything that's happened with this final deletion in the Wyatt family compound segment. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about the off on Wednesday on the WWE Network. The first round, we got a chance to watch that. We're going to be responding to some comments that we got, and we'll be taking your calls later on. You can see that number on the screen right now. If you happen to be watching live, just go ahead, take a look at that, get your phones ready. That's for later on in the show. Now, what do you want to kick off the show talking about? I'll leave it up to you, Cass.
NXT.
Yes, very important. We got to get that NXT mark out there. And, you know, if I was to say so myself, I think that there's a big reason to mark out for NXT this week, because this featured the huge match, Shinsuke Nakamura versus Finn Balor. Shin versus Finn. That was it. We also had a segment featuring the NXT champion. Yes, Samoa Joe. There's just something that's so right about that guy. Nothing that he does on the mic is revolutionary. It's not gonna change your life. But
just go ahead and say like Roman Reigns should take notes and be like, yes, this is what a Samoan badass is supposed to sound and be like.
Yeah, there's nothing that he says that's like revolutionary. So don't think that I'm saying this to say that Samoa Joe is just changing the wrestling business and he's taking it into a new frontier. It's just that what he does is so damn effective, and I love it.
And it's simple.
Yes, it's simple and effective. There's nothing complicated about the person that Samoa Joe is. He looks at NXT as an empire, and he's the emperor. He's the person that sits at the top. He said it himself on the episode. Everything that happens here runs through me. And there's just something so wonderful and so beautiful in the simplicity of his character and just the havoc that he wreaks down in NXT. And so far, he's been a nice champion, a really good champion.
Oh yeah, like I said, and for anybody out there who still thinks that Joe turned heel back in November, like, this ain't heel Samoa Joe. To me, this is just Samoa Joe being Samoa Joe. This is who he's always been. So he's never really changed himself or changed who he has been. Even back in his TNA run, this is who he was. So it's not like he went through some kind of life-changing alter, which is actually one of the factors that I like. Interesting that they're throwing him at Rhino. Well, I guess you gotta have somebody there to like hold off Joe until. I think I might as well just go ahead and say it. We're gonna get Nakamura versus Samoa Joe in Brooklyn. So that's gonna be epic. That's gonna be epic.
My God, because those are two characters right there that are just hitting it. Every single thing that Shinsuke Nakamura does is a home run, and we just raved over the simplicity and effectiveness of Samoa Joe. So bringing those two forces together, that's going to be a sight to see. But before we get to that point, we need to talk about the road that Shinsuke Nakamura is currently on. And one of the stops on that road, he said it himself, to set himself up for the NXT Championship, he had to beat an icon. He had to beat Finn Balor, and that he did on this past episode of NXT.
Fantastic match.
Yes, it was. And can I just say, Finn Balor works a damn good heel match. Because that's essentially what he was. Like, his character alignment is not a heel, but if you looked at the way in which he behaved in that match, he was working a heel match. And, I mean, that's something that we could possibly look forward to in the future. So keep your eyes out for Finn Balor, because, yeah, he was fucking awesome. The way that he targeted the limbs, specifically that knee of Nakamura, that was really good stuff from Finn throughout the match. And of course, Nakamura is Nakamura. So
Yeah, the psychology in this match was just great. I heard a lot of people saying that it was better than Sami Zayn versus Nakamura in Dallas. So I'm gonna have to really go back and see if that's like a legit thing. But like the psychology
See, the
in
thing
this
about
match,
that one is no, I can't go for that one because I was watching Nakamura versus Sami Zayn in Dallas with Charlie, and I saw him running across the damn, like literally running from one wall to the other, and that moment alone, that experience of watching Zayn versus Nakamura, that gives it the win for me. But that doesn't take anything away from this match in particular because it was still fantastic. Whether it be better than Zayn versus Nakamura or not, great match.
What I really liked about this is the fact that not only was it on TV, but it was the only match on the show. You basically built all these weeks in anticipation because, it would have been good to have like a match, like one match here or there, but pretty much all you needed was just that one segment with the return of the champion, and then just have that one match that you advertise, and you just basically make that the whole show, so you still get your money's worth, and you get what you want. So you advertised it for next week, for this week, and you gave it to the people. So it wasn't like you needed to have something to like calm you down first before you got to the main event. And I really love the way that this was showcased. And the title wasn't even on the line. And they showcased.
It still felt like a huge match. Because you had two guys who were just burning up the charts in NXT, two contenders for the championship, and you create a moment, you create an event with two contenders going for the title without any direct implications, because it's not as if it was a number one contenders match. De facto, it was a number one contenders match, but it wasn't something that was officially said. The person that wins this match is going to be the number one contender. It's just that those two stars, their presence existed on its own, and it carried through to the build-up and making this match a big event. And I can't ask for anything more. Wonderful job from the competitors. Wonderful job from the team down in NXT. Just great stuff.
Yeah, the commentary team. The commentary team earned their money this week by the way that they just talked about it. And again, Tom Phillips and Corey Graves, I do not get tired of listening to those guys. They just work.
Yes, they were my first favorite number one commentary team in WWE, but I think they've been unseated. Not for anything that they did, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it. We definitely will get to it.
Yeah, real quick, I don't know, but I heard some of the possible matches for Brooklyn. I don't know if you taken a look into some of those. Some of them are actually quite interesting. Like Bobby Roode, I heard finally made his debut, but we won't see that on TV till next month, and he'll be taking on Andreas Cien, so that's gonna be interesting. I think Bobby Roode's probably playing more of a heel role, and also Austin Aries versus No Way Jose, and next week
I'll finally get a chance to watch a No Way Jose match. Then I guess.
Yeah, and of course next week on NXT, the Authors of Pain versus American Alpha. Interesting that they're doing this match now.
Well,
I know we got the draft coming up.
Yeah.
But but here's the thing. This is actually another match that's scheduled for Brooklyn.
Yeah, this might. I'm thinking that whatever happens here, this is going to be the swan song of American Alpha. I would like to see them move up to the main roster, because I think based off of what happened with them being ushered out of the tag team title scene and going into this feud with the Authors of Pain, it just, like, the whole situation comes off as weird to me. It doesn't seem as if, like, this is the story itself. It feels like they're using this as the story on NXT because something bigger is going on, or at the very least, I would hope that something bigger is going on. Because I wouldn't, as great as a tag team as American Alpha is, I wouldn't want to see them going through something like this that's just comes off as weird to me, whatever reason. Not necessarily bad, just weird when they were at like the peak of their popularity and just stuff was popping for them. For a detour to be made like this, it makes me feel as if they're moving up to the main roster.
Yeah, and also the revival will defend against Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, so I really cannot wait for that one. That's gonna be the writing's pretty much painted on the wall for Brooklyn, so it looks like we're getting a pretty solid card. Not sure about the Rue versus Andre Almas or the Aries versus No Way Jose matches. Not really sure how that's gonna work.
Yeah, we got a lot of time to talk about those matches that are set for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. That'll be around the time of SummerSlam. So look forward to the talk on that as we see how all of those matches, the build-up plays out over on the weekly TV show.
Yeah. Real quick though. Next week, not only American Alpha versus the Others of Pain, but Bailey versus Nia Jax, which I actually cannot wait to see.
Oh my God,
and also,
I forgot about that one. Yes.
Samoa Joe versus Rhino. So let me tell you something. With the Cruiserweight Classic and NXT, the next 2.5 months of Wednesday nights is going to be awesome television.
Man, we got a lot of stuff now. A lot of wrestling to watch. A lot of wrestling, and this is all just under the WWE umbrella. This isn't even talking about, all of the other stuff like TNA, for example. And I guess we can go ahead and move over to media. This is pretty much as close as we're gonna get to an interpromotional war between WWE and TNA. It's just happening over social media now. We had the two segments. One, the final deletion from TNA featuring Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy. Then we had the Wyatt family compound segment with the Wyatt family battling it out versus the New Day. Bray Wyatt, he is really like, something has come over this guy because he's on Twitter now, and I'm going to go to his Twitter so I can quote him directly, but you can really tell that Bray Wyatt is on the defensive now because a lot of the thoughts that people like me, people like you, have been expressing, like WWE blatantly ripped off TNA. Like,
they did.
Apparently, he's been listening, and here's a few of his tweets. Love me or hate me, I am the single most creative thing this industry has seen this century. Constantly imitated, but there is only one me. Then he had, lest we forget, without Bray Wyatt, perhaps no one would have been broken in the first place. Go ahead, lie. And he put lie in all caps. And say it isn't true. I am the way. Here's the thing. Bray Wyatt, I think, is phenomenal.
Yeah.
He truly is. However, WWE has failed him.
A lot. They really have.
And it makes it... It's me in such a difficult position as a fan to sit here and see Bray Wyatt saying all of these things. And I'm like, well, it could be true, but, dude...
You've been marginalized.
Yeah, you've been marginalized, and WWE puts you into a position where you have to be on the defense from fucking TNA. The fact that you even acknowledged what's going on, the fact that you even had that hashtag broken on your tweet, that means you lost. And that's not even taking into account the fact that the final deletion was better than the Wyatt family compound segment. But whether it be better or not, the fact that you acknowledged TNA, you already lost, dude.
Yeah, that's just not good, and honestly, that really shouldn't be for any wrestler in general. I mean, we all know that there's competition out there. Well, not necessarily for WWE, but there is competition for wrestling in other promotions. I mean, yeah, WWE, we all know it's the end all be all, but that still doesn't mean that you need to let's just take out the interacting with the other talent from another wrestling promotion. How about the fact on how he's probably just upset on how he has had a character that was long before created, before Broken Matt Hardy was brought in, and yet people don't flock to him. I mean, you have been on the roster for 2 years. What in the world have you done to even say something like that? And
he's been on the
to be
roster
honest,
for longer than 2 years.
Well, if you want to count, then I don't even count those Nexus years. But
No,
anyway,
I'm saying like because I remember. Let me check just to make sure. Because I remember doing a video on YouTube. Yeah, 2 years ago. That was around the feud with John Cena. So at that point, he had been
so
on the roster for a while. Because 2 years ago, that was when I started to realize that Bray Wyatt was full of shit. So
yeah,
there
yeah.
was a point in time before that where he was going out there and everybody was wrapped up in every single word that he was saying, and he was having some sort of effectiveness, but we got into the cycle, wash, rinse, repeat, where he went out there and he kept doing the same damn thing over and over again. And at that point, I said that either Bray Wyatt is going to die a visionary or live long enough for people to realize that he's full of shit, or at least the character is full of shit. And we're
Yeah,
at
you know
that
what's
point.
funny
We're
when
past
it,
that
you know
point.
it's yeah, you know what's funny when it came to the Wyatt family compound versus the final deletion. Let's not forget the fact that when it came to the final deletion, it was something out of nowhere. And if it and Jay, I said this last week, if it was meant to come off campy, then it worked, and it actually was
Mm-hmm.
supposed, like, we weren't supposed to take this seriously. Whereas you look at the Wyatt family compound, I guarantee you WWE was probably thinking, let's do everything that we can to make this as serious as possible to make people try to care about this feud. Like, we were supposed to take that seriously. I mean, the camera cuts were awful. You can barely see the Wyatt family, the New Day half the time, and then all of a sudden it ends flat. Whereas when
Mm-hmm.
you had with the final deletion, you actually had a lot of backstory that went into that led up to something for all that to even happen. Whereas this, it felt like they just randomly shot this just to have something just for that week, just to build towards a feud that not a lot of people care about.
Yeah, with the final deletion, like they actually told a complete story from beginning to end. Like a person like me who didn't even know that much about it going into it, I still had some sort of investment in what was going on versus what WWE did with the Wyatt family compound segment. Hell, I watch these people every damn week,
Yeah, and
every week,
yeah,
and I just
yeah,
sat there like, what is this? And that was a failure
yeah.
on many fronts with WWE. And I look at what Bray Wyatt is doing on Twitter, and some folks are saying that this is good for him because he's staying in
No, it's not.
character and things like that. He's, to me, going out there talking about, oh, I'm the most creative thing in this industry. That's
No,
not Bray Wyatt speaking.
that's his ego.
That's Wyndham Rotunda or whatever the hell his name is. Anytime Matt Hardy speaks, whether it be in an interview, on Twitter, tweeting
He
out
stays
stuff,
in
he
character.
stays in character. And in the responses, or at least the veiled responses, based off of all of this talk that's going on, still staying in character. So if you go down line by line, the fact that Bray Wyatt responded, the fact that Bray Wyatt was forced into a position where he had to respond to this, the fact that the final deletion shit, it was better. The fact that Matt Hardy is able to stay in character in everything that he's doing, and Bray Wyatt is breaking character into the real person behind the persona, line by line, TNA continues to win.
And Jay, you know what's funny? I think the difference when it comes to Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt is the fact that Matt Hardy's not shackled, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not held back from doing what he knows what he wants. Like he knows what he's doing. Whereas Bray Wyatt, he's shackled
Yeah.
every single time. Like, he is controlled for what he says and what he does, even though he has shown at some points to where he can be credible and he can like get himself over on the microphone. But let's just face it here. Creative is controlling him. Matt
Yes.
Hardy is coming up with his own stuff. He's the one that's being innovative. I honestly wish Matt Hardy had a creative control and impact. Maybe that might help them out somewhat. But yeah, I mean, that's the difference between Matt and Bray. I mean, Matt Hardy's not shackled to his ideas. Bray
Mm-hmm.
Wyatt is.
Yeah, and what everything that Bray Wyatt is saying, believe me, I want it to be true because I've been
Yeah.
such an advocate for this guy. I've written many columns on PWF Empire, made videos about it, and I'm gonna read one excerpt from a column that I wrote on PWFempire.com just to give you guys a sense of who I think the Bray Wyatt character actually is. The character that is Bray Wyatt operates under the objective of ridding the world of the same infected elements of humanity that caused him to be shunned from society. He employs a scorched earth strategy on a quest to fulfill his agenda, wreaking havoc on dual fronts: psychological warfare and physical harm. In addition, the eerie mystique that encompasses him has attracted a cult of indoctrinated ruffians that execute his will at a moment's notice. Doesn't that sound fucking awesome? That sounds amazing. Like, this guy could seriously be in Batman's rogues gallery. He could be a villain on The Walking Dead, on True Detective, whatever it may be. But for some reason, within that universe of WWE, it just does not click. It doesn't. In the one moment where they start to explore what this guy could possibly be made of, they put him into a position where he has to acknowledge and respond to something that TNA did. And it sucks for him. It sucks for him. It really does.
Yeah, like it's like he should have been doing this kind of stuff before all this happened, but creative has just hurt him so much. Like, it just really has. And honestly, it sucks because Bray Wyatt, he is what we're probably going to get close to Undertaker type level, which is what I've always thought of him ever since he's come to main roster. But now it's like he can't even take that role over because he's been marginalized so much. And again, they're trying to like make him into a situation like where you really need to believe this guy is out there. Like, I think maybe like too much realism goes into his character, whereas Matt Hardy is just kind of like entertainment.
Yeah, he's allowed to be a little campy, you know.
Yeah,
like you said, no shackles.
Yeah,
no shackles on him. And I mean, it sucks for Bray Wyatt, but dude, your company failed you.
Yeah,
it sucks for you, for me as a fan too, but yeah, they failed you, bro. Okay, let's move on to some happier news. The Cruiserweight Classic kicked off on the WWE Network on Wednesday. And when I tell you, it wasn't even 5 minutes into the show when I was sitting there with my jaw on the damn floor. Every single thing about that, every single element that went into the production of that show, Triple H's narration at the beginning, the video packages, the graphics, the competitors themselves, just the global reach. And then when you get to the actual show and the matches and the commentators, Mauro Ranallo and Dan
they were
Bryan,
awesome.
Yeah, that's my number one favorite commentary team in WWE right now. They were amazing. The way that they talked about the matches and they talked about the physics of what was going on.
Yeah.
And, you know, if this move happens, here's the effect that it has on the body. And they were actual analysts analyzing the moves and the effects that they have, and you know what this is going to lead to that, and just the excitement that they had, the knowledge, the expertise. That is the perfect commentary team right there. Those two together, they were money.
Oh yeah, it was just from the setting, from the way it looked. Like, the one thing that we always talk about in wrestling is how are they going to be different from every other person? Like, and they did this in Full Sail. So the fact that this was still Full Sail, but yet the setting was just so different,
totally
I thought that
like it.
Yeah, like you would not know if that was NXT or not. But yeah, I just like really the setting of it, everything about it. What I actually like the fact is how you actually had a little bit of heels in there. So it wasn't like a situation like where it's like no name versus no name or babyface versus babyfaces. And the fact that they show like little vignettes of like, because here's the thing, I only know a good 8 people out of 32 out of everybody in this tournament. And so it was good to see some of the guys that I'm going to get to know as we move on in this tournament. Like Cedric Alexander, I know him from ROH. He's the guy that I'm really pulling for in this tournament, but he's going to be facing.
He's going to be facing
Kota Ibushi.
So you can go ahead and squash that one, because I think that far and away, Kota Ibushi, I feel like he's been the most
standout.
Like, yeah, the standout from a promotional side too, it feels as if they've been featuring that guy really. Like they really look at him like he's this, earth-shattering superstar. So Cedric Alexander, facing him so early, I don't know.
I know. Like, I know we're gonna get a heck of a dream match out of it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and you said that there were only 8 people that you knew going into this tournament. The great thing that they did with those vignettes that they aired before the matches, they gave us, as the viewers, a sense of what the wrestlers' motivations were.
Yeah.
Why they were there, what they wanted to accomplish in being there. And you may not have known many of them before the show, but I felt like going into the matches, I didn't get a sense of who they are. And that was so wonderful for me, being a person that's really big into character development and fully fleshing out the people that are in the ring competing. Because if I get a sense of why they're there and what they want to accomplish, that pulls me in and that gets me invested into the action. And I don't know how the hell they did this. There are some folks on that show, I can't even pronounce their damn names.
Me neither.
But I get a sense that I know them, and I I can root for them, root against them, whatever it may be. Over on Raw, people I've known for years, see every damn week, and I'm like, okay, who is he? What does he do? What does he do? Why is he here? And all of those questions. Like, I think that everything that I talked about a few minutes ago, all of the different elements that went into the production of the Cruiserweight Classic, that they're so fundamental to what makes pro wrestling entertaining for a person like me, that this was a fully complete show. Not gonna go as far as to say it was perfect, but this show was complete when it came to incorporating the fundamentals of what makes wrestling, fun and exciting for me. And this is only the first episode. We're not even through the first round yet. Like, this is going to be great stuff.
Yeah, and let's just all these guys have such an amazing opportunity. And get this, what I really like the fact is how even in a losing effort, you're still going to know who these guys are. Yes. These guys got showcased on live television, quote unquote. So not only did they get their shine in, not just to the audience in Full Sail, but also around the world. So that would definitely showcase them. And a lot of other organizations, like, here's the thing, they can still say they wrestle for WWE. And they can use that. So this tournament is honestly going to benefit everybody, no matter who, even the person who comes out on top. Like, honestly, did they really say, like, what the winner's going to get? Are they going to get, like, the Cruiserweight Championship?
A trophy.
They need to bring back that champ.
Wouldn't it
They need to bring
cool
back that championship, though.
if they saved that as like a surprise for the end? I think that would be awesome.
What if they did it at a takeover? The finals at a takeover. Like Takeover Brooklyn, because I think that would just be icing on the cake. And to be honest with you, whoever wins needs to be signed to be the Cruiserweight champ. Because here's the thing, because there's no way they can just have all these cruiserweights just show in and not sign at least some of them. Like Zack Sabre Jr., I think might get signed. Yeah,
they got to be looking at some of those guys like, okay, well, damn, they were good. They did great for us in this tournament, and possibly looking into further investments into who they are. They have to sign somebody. They have to. Like, you're not going to focus, what is it, like 10 weeks on all of these guys and, just say, okay, hey, that's that. On about your way. Like, they're going to see something that they like, and they're going to jump on board with it. They have to.
Like I said, if I had to pick 2 people right now they would sign completely, would be Ibushi and Sabre Jr. Like, those are the only 2 right now I could see them going.
Yeah.
Go to Ibushi in NXT, maybe. I heard that he actually worked the taping show the other day, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, let me think of some of the people who stood out for me. I thought that Daivari, he was solid.
Wait, was
That
that was Davari? That, again, people, that is Davari's brother. Davari did not re-debut in WWE.
yeah, with plastic surgery in between because he didn't.
Yeah.
He looked completely different. He was definitely solid.
Um.
That Ho Ho Loon, he needs to
Yeah.
work on his facials because there were some points in the match where he was just staring, and I'm like, dude, is what you're going through? Does it hurt right now or what? Because
Yeah.
he was just like
I,
staring blankly. But
yeah. Cedric Alexander, of course. Like I said, I know him. I'm
he's
very
amazing.
familiar with him. Yeah. Yeah. Like, have you seen this stuff in ROH?
I don't think I've seen too much
You
of it.
need to watch it. It's fantastic. Believe me. Like this guy, I've been wanting him to get in WWE for a long time, and this is about as close as he might get to it. But I'm just, like I said, he was my pick, but now that he's facing Ibushi, I'm definitely not gonna get that. But I'll get a dream match out of it. Also, another guy that stood out. Well, the guy that stood out for me was Sean Muta. Did I pronounce that right?
Maluda.
Maluda.
Yeah, I see they tried to. I do have one thing to say though. They kept saying that he was related to the Usos and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I don't think he's really a part of that family. He might be an in-law to one of the Wild Samoans because I noticed that
he's
there's
the son of Sika.
no. They said he's a nephew of Afa.
Oh, Ava. Okay.
So, and the thing is, like, shit, they're both brothers. So if he's a nephew to one, wouldn't he be the nephew to the other? But I was thinking like, nah, he might be related by marriage. So he's not even like, yeah.
And you know they're gonna draw that out either way. Like if there's any kind of connection, they're gonna
They're
draw
like,
it
oh,
out.
you lived on the same street as one. Yeah, you're a part of the family, man.
Yeah. It says we need to like figure like how big is that family? Like seriously.
Yeah, it's like only one fucking Samoan in the entire history of wrestling isn't related to them, and that's Samoa Joe. Every other Samoan that you've seen is somehow, some way related to The Rock and Roman Reigns and all of that stuff. But another competitor that I was really impressed by was Cedric Alexander's opponent, Clement Pachu.
Oh
I
yeah.
really liked his style. I did.
Oh yeah, it was ground and pound, but he can high fly. But Daniel Bryan mentioned this, but he can ground you on the mat, which is another thing I like what Daniel Bryan did. It's like it's not all about the high flying. I really like that because in a cruiserweight tournament, you expect all the high flying, so you wouldn't expect a lot of ground based or mat wrestling, but we did get that.
And I'm glad that they are incorporating so many of those different styles. Like I watched that bracketology with Triple H, Morrow, and Daniel Bryan, and Triple H was talking about how there's like this perception that cruiserweight is only high flying, and I was one of those people that that was one of the reasons why I wasn't like really excited for the tournament because I was like, here we go with this high flying, not necessarily saying that it's mess, but too much flippy shit is we don't need too much of it, but I like the fact that they are putting an emphasis on the different styles, and I think that that's good stuff. So yeah, Cruiserweight Classic, it's off to an amazing start, and this is just part of the first round. We still have so much more to go.
Yeah, people, let me just tell you something. We had a great NXT episode along with the Cruiserweight Classic. These next 2 months and a half of Wednesday night television is going to be awesome for wrestling.
Okay, so what else do we have? Oh yeah, that comment. I told someone who left a comment on our last episode of the show that I was going to respond back to the comment on this week's show because I thought it was a very interesting comment. It referenced our talk about the final deletion and stuff like that, and I think that a conversation like this is very important because we have stuff like the final deletion going on. We have stuff like what WWE tried to do with the Wyatt family compound. We have Lucha Underground. So here's the comment from John Doe. I've got a question for you, Jay. So do you think that the final deletion is taking away from the sophistication of wrestling in terms of storytelling? For an example, someone asks me, why do you like wrestling? It's fake. I'd reply, well, it's scripted narrative with interesting storylines and blah, blah, blah. Then I show them the final deletion. To me, I feel like it's that hillbilly stuff South Park was making fun of. How can the final deletion be a positive step towards wrestling? Okay, my reply to you would be that I don't necessarily think that, well, I don't think at all that the final deletion takes away the sophistication of wrestling. I actually think it adds to it, because what wrestling needs to do to stay relevant is to continue reinventing itself. And I've used this phrase before. Like, you have to incorporate elements of pop culture and what's hot and what's hip today into what's going on, so you stay relevant and you stay fresh. And you have to find some kind of way to do that. That's very important, because if we look at wrestling from its foundation, good versus evil, that could get really fucking boring. If you don't become inventive with the way in which you approach wrestling, you get really tired, you get very formulaic, and you're doing yourself, and you're also doing the fans disservice. And I'll just also say this: I stopped giving a fuck what other folks had to say a long time ago. And this is like a life lesson off the subject of wrestling. Like, when I was in the 11th grade, which was like 10 years ago, I realized, like, you know what? I've put too much thought into what other folks think of me, and my life became so much more enjoyable once I stopped doing that. I'm telling you, man, I could go into a whole fucking discussion about that, but I'm not even.
We ain't got time for that.
Yeah, ain't nobody got time for that. But my whole thing is, like, I don't let non-wrestling fans tell me what a successful wrestling angle is or not. It's one thing for me to think that as a wrestling fan, but I've passed that phase in my life where I was embarrassed to tell people I'm a wrestling fan. Like, for better or for worse, the business is what the hell it is. You got to take the sour with the sweet, and, you know, it's just that. Like, I'm never going to be in a situation where I'm like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Like, shit, I don't care anymore. Like, it is what it is. But I'd understand if you felt some type of way about that segment, but, like, I just wouldn't let somebody else tell me what sophistication is in storytelling or anything like that.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. And again, and Jay, you've heard me say this on the shows a lot of times, of where there's not a lot of realism when it comes to wrestling today. And that's kind of one thing that WWE and a lot of other wrestling companies are lacking when it comes to, like, the realism of, like, what would this person do that's logic to any other human being, instead of going off of a script. Because that's when you kind of lose a lot of the, and I always go to the casual audience, because you do have the casual audiences out there that are willing to watch a wrestling show, but are willing to look at the stories more and not necessarily the wrestling aspect. That's where you really lose a lot of people, because, I mean, 9 out of 10 times, Jay, on Raw, the wrestling pretty much doesn't really matter if it's the main event. A lot of people just tune in to see how are they going to advance storylines, like what are they going to do to make me like this person even more, or how much, or why am I this person? It's pretty much all just a question mark. And when it came to, like, the final deletion, I don't even think you necessarily needed to be a wrestling fan to like it, pretty much. I think it was just all in the aspects of how entertained you were, and how it made you feel on on that certain product. Because, like, I'll be real here. After the final deletion, I was more invested with this past episode of Impact Wrestling, which I actually thought was good. A lot of y'all need to check it out. But yes, like, that's the thing. Like, if you see something good from that product, the point of that product or a wrestling company is to keep you tuned in. If it's good and it's keeping you tuned in, then you're gonna keep flocking back every single time.
There was also another comment that was left on the video, and it was talking about how this is community outreach here, okay? This is very important business. But yeah, there was another comment, and this was left on actually my video that I made about the Wyatt family compound segment, but but yeah, it's just like everyone has their own definition of what sophisticated storytelling is, or what sports entertainment is, and it would be wonderful if we were all on the same page and the wrestling companies were like, you know what, I got you, boom, here's what you want, I'm giving it to you. But like, I don't think that anybody out there is going to get 100% of what they want from a wrestling company.
You're not.
I guess it's just about like weighing what's important to you versus what you thought sucked, and judging it from that perspective. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing that if anyone disliked the final deletion. It's just that I think I said this last week on the show. I'm down for some experimentation. It's not going to work all of the time, but necessary to keep wrestling fresh and moving forward.
Let me just add in real quick. It also goes like you just said on how people watch wrestling from different perspectives. Imagine with WWE, New Japan, ROH, TNA, and NXT, the restaurant. Imagine if they all operated the same. Imagine if they all operate on the same structure, the same format, the way that their shows look on everything else. Because honestly, that's the beauty of wrestling. There's so many alternatives out there. NXT really works differently when it comes to their storytellings and their characters. ROH is geared more towards the hardcore audience, and they don't really care a lot about storytelling. They just want a good wrestling match. Even though a lot of people are disfranchised with TNA, that's a company that's been around for so long. Even though it's still WWE like, it still provides an alternative for the wrestling fans out there. And we all know WWE is pretty much the end all be all when it comes to wrestling. They're the number one wrestling promotion, which is why they're the number one wrestling promotion watched in the world. And when it comes to New Japan, it gears more not just to the hardcore audience, but also people who are traditional wrestling fans and really care about the in-ring aspect and the hardcore aspect of New Japan. So you have so many different variables out there on how a story can be told in a match.
Alrighty, guys, we're about to gear up to start taking calls soon. If you'd like to get your call in, go ahead and dial us up. The number is 347-857-2401. Again, the number is 347-857-2401. For all of our folks who happen to be watching or listening live right now. And speaking of listening to the show live and things like that, with SmackDown moving away from Thursdays next week, I think we're going to do the show a little earlier on in the day. Not too early because, hell, I'm on the West Coast, but would you be cool with that, Cass, like doing the show like an hour or two earlier?
Oh, I'm good with that.
Okay. So that's something that we'll explore next week. And if you want to keep up to date as to what's going on and, know when the show is, because this one is very flexible. It's not like PWF Empire Live where we do the show same time, or we try to do the show same time every week. Yeah, this one is flexible. It's able to move around and things like that. So if you want to keep up with us, just so you're in the know and you know what's going on at all times, feel free to follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at PWF Empire, and you can follow Cass, hashtag Cass10Goodwin.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah, never gonna let that go.
Yeah, hashtag Cass10Goodwin. Yeah, Cass is pretty new to Twitter, and a few months ago, he on the Raw post show.
These people ain't gotta know.
Yes, they do, because this is hilarious. He was like, yeah, follow me, hashtag Cass10Goodwin. Then back then, I remember you used to send like tweets on Twitter to the wrestlers and stuff like that, and I would have to tell you, like, dude, that's a fake. It's not official. But yeah, I think you're getting into the game now. You're all spun up on Twitter.
Oh yeah, I am, believe me.
Yeah. Before we move on to calls, also make sure you guys watch the PWF Empire Fantasy Draft.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, I had an amazing time on that show. Wonderful time, and make sure you watch until the end too, because there are two little funny moments, and just to prepare you guys so you know what's going on, because some people may not know what's going on with one of those moments. During WrestleMania weekend, I went to WrestleMania Access, and I was in line to meet Sasha Banks.
He was an underachiever.
Oh God! Turns out things didn't go the way that I planned because when like the wrestlers are there until a certain time, and once their time is up, it doesn't matter how many people are standing in line. They just get up and they go. Like they're in different segments and stuff like that. So I didn't get to the line early enough, and I spent a lot of time in that line waiting. Probably like, how long was her session? Like however long the session was. It was 2 or 3 hours. Yeah, I spent all of that time in line and didn't get a chance to meet her. So yeah, just keep that in mind for when you're watching the draft, because there's like an important moment that happens that you guys need to know that. Don't let them know. Don't let them know. No spoilers. But
I'm just saying who had the better roster.
Oh, you said you thought Charlie had the better roster? Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah.
And you guys can vote yourselves though. There's a poll up, and I happen to be winning so far.
Hashtag SmackDown matters.
It will next week.
It definitely didn't matter tonight, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, before we got on the call, you were like yawning and stuff. I'm like, okay, well, I can tell that wasn't a good episode of SmackDown. Like, I can know reaction.
Well, I mean, we got the main event advertised as Dean Ambrose versus Kevin Owens for like the umpteenth time, and then it just dissolves into a Sami Zayn, Ambrose versus Owens Rollins match that doesn't have any consequences. Then what do you get?
Alrighty, we're gonna go to our first call here. This is 919. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, how you guys doing? This is Trey, and I'm calling from Goldsboro, North Carolina.
Okay. You're from North Carolina, right, Cass? Or is it South Carolina?
You said what?
Cass.
North Carolina.
No, Cass. Which one are you from?
North Carolina.
Okay, you're a fellow North Carolinian. Is that what you call it?
There you go.
Okay.
Representing.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But my question is actually about the face that runs the place, John Cena.
Okay.
It seems to me that ever since that he returned to WWE, it seems like he's been, I'm not going to say irrelevant, but he's been kind of under the shadows ever since his feud with AJ Styles. So my question is, do you think that his run as the face of WWE is almost over?
No.
No, definitely no.
There's no one prepared to take that place. As far as his position on screen, it has changed, and John Cena has entered into a new era in his on-screen, wrestling persona. But as far as it relates to John Cena being like the mascot of WWE, the face of the company,
yeah, no.
There's not anyone in the company anywhere near the point to take his place. And say what you want about Roman Reigns and where WWE was trying to get him, even before the suspension, the wellness policy violation. Shit, he wasn't even close then. So he damn sure ain't right now. Like, John Cena is, I've said this before, I'll say it again, and I know it pisses people off every time I say it, but John Cena is the best face of the company that WWE has ever had and will ever have. I don't think that you'll ever be a human being like John Cena.
Yeah, definitely, not to mention the fact on how like there's a lot of advertisements, merchandise, there's a lot that goes into what John Cena truly does. Not just the on-screen aspect of it, but also the off-screen of what he does. So it's until you really find, which I honestly don't think they will ever find another superstar like that, it's going to be very difficult for this company to move forward, in my opinion. But as far as his position as the face, but heck no, he ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, he's actually been doing interviews recently talking about how he's going to stay in WWE forever.
Oh, God.
And he's getting so many opportunities outside. It's going to be tough. I hope he stays just so people don't bring up all of this shit and throw it in his face at some point, like he did with The Rock. But
yeah,
because
he's actually doing that stuff.
Yeah, he's in movies. People keep talking about Trainwreck and how awesome he was in that one. He just hosted the ESPYs. What was it, yesterday?
He's definitely venturing out a lot, which is why I honestly think he should be doing at this point in his career.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any more questions or comments, Trey?
And I forgot my other question was. And I think, in my opinion, what do you think the first thing Roman Reigns should do when he returns? Do you think he should turn heel?
Beat the crap out of
Do you think
Rollins.
he should win back the championship?
Beat the crap out of Rollins. If all the taunting that Rollins has done does not, and Roman Reigns comes back and Rollins is not the first target on his list, that's a problem.
Yeah, I don't want to see him waiting for a bell. I don't want to see any of that, because this is Roman Reigns sitting at home on the damn couch, incapable of responding to a person that has been running his name in the dirt on a weekly basis. Every single chance Seth Rollins gets to get in front of a camera or get on a mic, he's been trashing Roman Reigns, and that fury has to be building up in him. So he needs to be laser focused on Seth Rollins as soon as he comes back. Like, act as if nothing else in the world exists, aside from Seth Rollins, and just go wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for listening, and thank you for calling in.
Yeah, no problem.
No problem, man.
Okay. 414.
Hey guys, it's Anthony again.
What's up, Anthony?
What's going on, Anthony?
Not much. Just a couple questions. So apparently at Battleground, it's going to be Charlotte and Dana Brooke versus Sasha and a partner of her choosing. Is that right?
Yeah,
that's what I've heard.
So for the second pay-per-view in a row, the women's championship is not going to be defended.
I don't like that.
Like, isn't the women's championship supposed to be like the women's equivalent to the WWE title?
At least that's what WWE wants us to believe. They're trying to throw lip service to that.
Because I don't see, like, honestly, like, okay, so I don't see what the difference is from when we had the fucking butterfly belt.
There is no difference.
You know what the difference is? Marketing.
And I haven't seen one single thing since WrestleMania to make me sit there and say, oh yeah, okay, I see why Charlotte went over in that match now. I just don't get why Sasha Banks isn't the champion.
Look, I was there.
Oh boy,
I was there. And I'm telling you, this is something that I'm never going to forget.
You got him rattled.
And I am never going to forgive WWE for this. How in the hell do you start a revolution and send people the message that things are different when you have the same fucking champion that you had before? And a heel champion at that, who goes out there and, of course, it's in her nature. That's what she's supposed to do as a heel. Go out there and brag and, display her ego and things like that. But WWE keeping the championship on Charlotte, that showed a gross, tone deafness as to what needed to happen. And we needed to have a new champion at WrestleMania, whether it be Sasha Banks or Becky Lynch. We needed to have a new champion, a face champion, to legitimately usher in this new era of women's wrestling in WWE. And ever since WWE made that move to have Charlotte retain that championship, it's been bullshit ever since.
You want to talk about, we've been suffering through bullshit for the last year, pretty much, with this whole thing. Even though we have seen just a tad bit of growth when it comes to this women's division, like them showcasing just a tad bit, but honestly, there's really been no change. We're back in the same place where we started when they had to put on this hashtag Divas Revolution and all that on that mess. And yes, just like the fact that you're having your women's champion in another tag team match and she hasn't defended that title since May, I believe, is a problem. And you came. I'm not even counting the one with Paige because I mean that was just them just saying, well, she's defended it, but no. And honestly, when it comes to like the tag team match at Battleground, I don't know. I'm thinking I would hope it's Bayley, but I think just because it's the easier option, they might go with Paige. And I hope that's not the case.
They already did. They just did that match though a couple weeks ago.
What does that mean? This is
either Raw or SmackDown. They did that.
This is WWE. But I guess if they're attempting to save it for as a surprise, it'd be kind of weird to bring Paige out as a surprise. But this is the same company that brought out Kane for.
Maybe it'll be Naomi.
Wait, well, no, Jay. You have to say it like this. They brought out fucking Kane.
See, I can't do. I'll leave it to you. I can't even do it like that. I'll leave it to you.
Anything else you got for us, man?
Yeah, that whole Kane. And real quick, I just wanted to respond to that. And that whole Kane being Miz's mystery opponent, that went absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
Like. Real quick, Jay, I wanted to get your thoughts on Dean Ambrose's promo on Raw Monday, because I know you've been talking about how he's too jokey, but he was pretty serious on Monday Night Raw. Did you like what you saw out of him?
I did, and like
he likes him.
Well, I still feel as if he's kind of like being marginalized a bit, and it just comes off as disjointed because Seth Rollins is doing so much to push the message about Roman Reigns, and then it's like Dean Ambrose, then he jumps in and he has to try to find a place for himself. I would like a lot more consistency from Dean Ambrose. I hate what WWE does when they act like the fucking championship is this magical, source of oh my god, he's just transformed once he won the championship. The Dean Ambrose that I'm seeing right now, or at least the flashes of it, I wish we would have got that consistently before he won the championship. But then when I do say something like that, it's like I have to continue to correct myself and try. See, I like to do personal reflection, okay? And I like to keep myself in check because, that old saying, check yourself before you wreck yourself. I'm trying not to wreck myself. So I have to make sure that I accurately assess what's going on with Dean Ambrose now and not continually hold him to, the sins of the past. So based off of what I'm seeing from Dean Ambrose right now, it's cool. But I still feel like he's being marginalized and he just comes up on the short end of the stick because of Roman Reigns' suspension.
And my final question is, why in the fuck is Zack Ryder getting a U.S. title match?
I don't know. You're asking the wrong person because I see here.
That is such a waste of Rusev, honestly.
It is like it truly is, man. Because it's just like, and I mentioned this on another I mentioned this last week on how like it's cool that you have a guy like Zack Ryder doing it, but the problem is he's been so marginalized by WWE so much to the point to where he's not even like in the upper to mid card. He's like in the lower tier of the mid card. And also you just have so many other options when it comes to Rusev, because now you're telling me that you go from Titus O'Neil to then Zack Ryder. And plus the championships do not feel important when you put a guy like Zack Ryder. Like they just don't feel important, and I just don't know like what WWE is doing. Don't get me wrong, I like Zack Ryder and I like that he's getting an opportunity, but it's hard for me to take a guy like him seriously when he's been so marginalized. Not to mention they only have a week to make him credible. And him losing to Sheamus very fast and clean last week really did not help his case. So it's like, fine, he's got the championship, but you better do something to make him very credible leading up to Battleground.
See, they've been trying, though, and I guess I have to give them credit in that regard because once again, the cases in which they mention this draft stuff, it's just weird to me because last week on the show they mentioned the draft with the fucking Summer Rae and Becky Lynch match. They barely mentioned it with any other match, and then this week, like, it's interesting because I think I talked about this on PWF Empire Live last week's episode. I talked about how they need to have somebody out there who's actively trying to, up their stock price with the draft. And they made that comment saying that Zack Ryder was doing something like this on this last episode of Raw. And when I looked back and looked at some of the things that Zack Ryder has been doing, I guess it could be true. But it's just that I don't care much for Zack Ryder to invest any in that story. Yeah. And I'm just sitting here confused. And there are a lot of Zack Ryder fans out there that I'm quite sure I know they're happy. There's one guy on...
and I'm pissing them off now.
There was one guy on Twitter, I saw a comment after Zack Ryder got the win in that 4th of July episode of Raw. He was like, wow, Zack Ryder got and he got the win on the next episode of the SmackDown after that. He was like, a week where Zack Ryder gets 2 clean wins, it doesn't get any better than this. And I'm like, well, yes, it does.
Yeah, we talked about that last week, yeah.
It gets a whole fucking lot better than that. But,
yeah, man, yeah. Raise your standards a little bit.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, like, Rusev is supposed to be this big monster heel, and I'm supposed to take Zack Ryder seriously as a challenger to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like I said, these mid-card championships don't feel important.
I mean, throw Cesaro at him. You're not doing anything with Cesaro right now. That'd be a great fucking
chat
match.
Saying Cesaro is doing nothing while Zack Ryder is getting this. Yeah, throw Cesaro up there.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's it for this week, guys.
All right, thanks for calling in.
All right, man.
Yep.
Okay, 2 more calls. The 2 calls that are on the board right now, then we're getting out of here. 803. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey guys, it's Drago with the Ultima Luchados update.
Alrighty, what you got?
Alright, yeah.
Alright, for the very first match in the opening, we had the Gift of the Gods Championship elimination match with, we had Sexy Star, a newcomer named Daga, Sinestra de la Muerta, which is basically those 3 guys that was the Triple Crown Championship at the end of the first season. But after failing to get their championships twice, Neil was like, give me a reason why I didn't want to I shouldn't destroy you guys. And Sinestra pretty much destroyed his 2 partners and gained their powers. And then also we had Marty the Moth Martinez and his sister, Mariposa, Killshot, and the debut of a new one named Nightclaw. The first elimination was Sinestra by Nightclaw. And then the second elimination was Daga by Nightclaw. He was really on a roll last night. And then the third elimination was Nightclaw by Killshot. Then the fourth elimination was Killshot by Mariposa. Now, if everybody's been watching, Mariposa and Marty the Moth have been targeting Sexy Star since the end of the first season. And it's only recently, in the middle of the most brutalist women's no mas match that I have ever seen, that Sexy Star was able to move on. And so she had a 2-on-1 situation where it was Mariposa and her brother kind of double teaming her. But by fate and by accident on Marty the Moth point, he kind of knocked out his own sister, and then she threw her out the ring so Sexy Star could pin Mariposa. So all that was left was Marty the Moth and Sexy Star. And the winner was determined, and your new Gift of the Gods champion, Sexy Star.
Interesting.
Highlights of the match for this one, it's ever since the beginning of this season, Marty the Moth has been teasing that he's going to be doing a dive out of the ring onto his opponents, but he always stops and does his stupid little moth flap. But this time he actually did it, The crowd went, oh, and then they thought about it for a second, and they said, "You still suck." Was hilarious. Oh, and then the most brutalist part of the match was when Killshot gave a Death Valley driver to Mariposa on the apron, and she took that bump hard. All I can say is Lucha Underground scored big time when they got Mariposa, aka Cheerleader Melissa, aka Alicia Flash, aka Raisha Saeed. She's a hell of a worker. That's all I think. Then for the final match of the night, we had the death match with King Cuerno versus Mil Muertes, who is trying to get his revenge because King Cuerno kidnapped him after his brutal casket match and kept him as a trophy. The winner of the match was Mil Muertes after he beat the living pulp out of King Cuerno so much that for a minute there we all thought he was dead. Like, no movement, we can barely see any breathing. Like, oh my God, he's dead. And then we had at the end of the match we had the announcers came out. The announcers started announcing the next Lucha Underground, where it's going to be a 2-hour finale with the other matches going down with Rey Mysterio versus Prince Puma, the team of Drago, Phoenix, and Aerostar versus Worldwide Underground, who are the current Triple Crown champions. That their team is Johnny Mundo, aka John Morrison, PJ Black, aka Justin Gabriel, and Jack Evans. And then also we have the debut of Black Lotus versus the newcomer El Dragon Azteca Jr. And at the very end of the show, where is that? Okay, and at the very end of the show, Dario kills Mr. Cisco and then calls someone and says, "It's time."
I gotta tune in the next week. I so gotta get back on the Lucha Underground horse.
Yeah, from what I've heard, from some credible sources, that Rey Mysterio Prince Puma match is, something to look forward to. So, I guess we'll see how that goes.
Oh yes, it is definitely a look forward to. That's the one I'm looking forward to. Next to, one more development. I forgot about this. At the beginning of the season, Vampiro has been taking medication to suppress his dark side. But now that Pentagon Jr. is going to be going up against the Monster Matanza for the Lucha Underground Championship, and Monster broke Pentagon's back the first time he tried to compete for that championship, he decided to take all of his pills and throw them in the trash. So now we're going to have the Dark Vampiro at the ringside of his student with Pentagon Jr.
All right.
But let me just say, like, that Ultima Lucha last year, that match with Vampiro versus Pentagon Jr. in that hardcore match was one of the best matches I saw last year.
Yeah.
And just the story, the continuation of how the apprentice with the student, I need to see that. I need to see how that's going to work out.
Yes, it was good. And the second most brutalist match would be the No Mas match between Mariposa and Sexy Star, where Mariposa literally busted Sexy Star wide open. She had a Ric Flair look. She had blood all in her hair, all in her chest, and she had her in a clover. She had her in a Texas clover, trying to make her submit, and the ref asked her, does she want to quit, in Spanish, because this is a Spanish show. And she shouts in English into the mic, "Fuck you, Mariposa."
Jay, what have we been missing?
I don't know. Like, you do have to take into account that this is the finale, too, because I've heard that this season of Lucha Underground, from some credible sources...
It's been on and off.
Yeah. Mostly off. Well, I've heard it started to improve a little bit towards the end, but
Yeah.
It's been hit and miss with certain matches, I will admit. But otherwise, Lucha Underground, as you all know, does really good with the build-up. And their build-up to this Ultima Luchadors, it's been so incredible that it's like 4 weeks before it, and then he starts building up for it, and we're like, oh snap, Ultima Lucha is around the corner.
Alrighty, thank you for calling in, Drago Lair, and giving us this Lucha Underground Ultima Lucha report.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and like I said, next week will be a 2-hour finale because they got to get the rest of these matches done and over with. And after this, season 2 will be officially finished.
Alrighty, look forward to it. Thank you.
All right, I will see you guys next week.
All right, too, man. Seriously, gotta get back to watching that.
And our final call of the night, 760. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is Mo. I'm from Southern California. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing awesome.
I'm doing good. I just have 2 questions. My first question is, how do you take a character who isn't like credible or believable and make them credible again?
Are you speaking on a specific person or just?
Well, I guess in general, or not. I guess in general, but a few examples would be like Bray Wyatt, or maybe for me personally, Dean Ambrose. Like I can't really take him seriously as the champion right now, but I'd like to.
So we talked about Dean Ambrose a little earlier. Like, could you at least see some of the differences that he's starting to have, like on the mic and things like that, since he's become champion?
I have, but I feel like they're not gonna mean anything. Like I don't feel like he's gonna get a payoff at the end. Like he's gonna be serious now, but then once the feud is over, he's just gonna go back to being like kind of where he was at the beginning.
See, that's the thing with me too. Like it seems as if they're building him up for a fall. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I can't even really get on board with Dean Ambrose. But this is a very complicated process. Well, not complicated from a sense of like knowing what to do, because it's kind of like you have to reprogram someone's mind and how they think about that wrestler. I take somebody like Dolph Ziggler, for example. I love to beat up on Dolph Ziggler, but he comes out and I groan. I'm like, ugh, here this motherfucker goes. And you have to reprogram people to look at them, to look at those wrestlers differently. And I think what that starts is, as long as you tell a story with that person and put them on a track, and whatever narrative you build around them, like that's important also. Establish a narrative. Whatever you want people to think about that person, put it in your mind and start charting out plot points on, a road. Okay, if at this point here's where he's gonna be. At this point here's where he's gonna be. And I specifically didn't mention wins because maybe that's not how you start out getting someone to the point of credibility. Maybe you start out with a losing streak or something like that, and that'll lead to a big win at the end. But it's just that you have to find out who that person is, find out where you want them to go, and you do that work on a week-to-week basis, telling bits and pieces of that story. And it sounds simple enough to say, but you have to it takes a bit of work to actually make it come off that way on TV.
Yeah, because WWE, honestly, they think we have short-term memory losses, and they just think that sticking somebody in front of us that they have marginalized to the point to where they're not credible enough. They just think that we forget all that, and they just instantly put them back on TV instantly. It's not done that way anymore. And honestly, when it comes to a guy like Bray Wyatt, to build him back up, if it were up to me, he would have been off TV for 6 months. He honestly would have been off TV for me, because his type of character, could work with that kind of dynamic. Him being gone for so long and not do so much of like the whole like come back, your sneak attack and all that. Like just I would have given him that Undertaker like presence of actually like making him into like a special talent, because there have been instances where Bray Wyatt could have been saved many times. I think you might agree, like he could have been saved many times, but it's just like it all led to the same point. He didn't like get any better. And also you need to establish also on how is this going to affect the audience of how they think of him, and how is he going to get better from this, and ultimately it has to lead somewhere. Because
and something that, just to jump in really quickly, something that you have to do to make sure something like what Cass is talking about is possible is be real. Get an accurate assessment of what the hell is going on, because you can do like WWE did with Roman Reigns for a while, where it's like you stick your fingers in your ears and la 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 la, like we got our plan and we're just gonna keep moving and we don't care what you say. You have to be real, deliver an accurate assessment of what's going on and the reaction from the crowd. And if they're not getting the reaction that you want to, maybe it's gonna cause for you to like reassess your plans and move like. You're still going towards the same direction, or the same destination. You just have to take a different route.
I see. Okay. Thank you for answering that question. And then my last question is, how much say do you think performers have on their character? Like, do they just get a script or get whatever and is just told to go and do the story, or do you think they get to yes?
Yep.
You said yes.
Well,
okay.
I can tell that it's not much, because if the performer has a say so in what goes on, I think that would translate on TV, because there's a certain type of consistency that would come with that. Because there are some times when people go out there and I don't even believe what they're saying, and WWE tells this false narrative that doesn't fit to what's actually going on. Like, they tell us what they want us to believe, but it's not true to that character. And that's very important, to give the performers some type of freedom to craft their characters and live that character, because when you live that character, you know how they'll react in certain situations, and you know how to stay true to that character. One person that I can definitely tell has some say so in what goes on is Kevin Owens.
Yeah,
I look at Kevin Owens, and that guy never does anything that seems out of character to me. And Kevin Owens seems like a fully fleshed out person. Like, he seems like a three-dimensional character. And I can tell that that's, like, I don't know what happens, why he's one of the very few in WWE that it happens for, but he has some type of involvement in the creative aspect of his character, and it works so well for him. But other people aren't as lucky and as fortunate for that to happen, and that's when you get the inconsistencies and you see them and they're like, why the hell is this going on? What's this? I don't understand. But the actual people who are playing those characters, is very important for them to have some type of say-so in crafting those characters and how they exist in the universe on a weekly basis.
Yeah, and also when it comes to that, like, there's also, like, Jay, I think I've told you, I've always liked the Vaudevillains and how that they do their stuff, because it's like, when NXT, remember how when they were in a match, they stayed in character, whenever they were in the back, they stayed in character, when they came down the ramp, they stayed in character. You don't get a lot of that in wrestling anymore, and New Day is also another example on how I actually don't think that they get their material scripted, because they pretty much just have free reigns, because that would explain all. They have way too much range. So it's like, and also rightfully so, not everybody can go out there and cut a good promo. Rightfully, nobody can do this. So the scripting is needed. It's just there needs to be a say-so from the town itself. Like, what would a logical person think or say about this? Which is what they don't get.
Okay, what's keeping the other characters, like you said there were some that have creative control, what's keeping the other characters from doing that?
I think it's pretty much just like speaking out, pretty much, because remember Cody Rhodes? How many times did you think Cody Rhodes was able to like speak out on his creative stuff? And look what we got out of him before we had left. Like we got so many different characters, and yeah, I honestly just think it's just them like speaking out of like we don't want to say this because who would logically think? Because I guess in their minds they're kind of insulting the creative team, and let's not forget they have 30-something writers in that damn room, but.
I think it's also important to have like some advocates backstage. Like I could look at Kevin Owens and say he's a Triple H guy and probably has Triple H backstage pulling for him. So
Yeah, and people just to keep in mind, Roman Reigns is a Triple H guy. Triple H is a Roman Reigns guy, not Vince McMahon. We need to get that right.
oh, I hope not. I have too much faith in Triple H to say that Roman Reigns is a Triple H guy. Maybe he was a Triple H guy in the feud with AJ Styles. I'll believe that, but some of that other stuff that happened, no, I'm not putting that on Triple H.
Okay. Well, that was all the questions I had. Thank you for taking the time to answer them.
Well, thank you for taking the time
Thank
to
you.
listen and call in. We do appreciate it.
Well, thank you. You guys have a great night.
All right, you too.
You too.
You know, I am going to have a great night because I'm about to go hunt some Pokemon. That's what I'm going to go do.
Oh yeah, like right now we got about 2 Pokemon centers around here. So yeah, like we're building a flock right now.
Yeah, okay. So anything to say before we head off air?
No, awesome show like always. People keep calling back in. We love to get your thoughts on everything in the world of professional. Well, actually, no, not professional wrestling.
Alrighty, guys. Next week on PWF Empire Live, we're actually going to be doing the show after the draft on Raw. Not Raw, SmackDown. Because SmackDown is going to matter next week. Yes.
I've been telling you guys that for years, and I'm still going to pull it out.
You don't have to now, because, I mean, it's going to be a brand on its own, and I'm going to have to watch just so I'm in tune to what's going on. But I draw the line at main event of Superstars. That shit is not happening. Okay.
Yeah, there's actually heard that they're gonna like make main event a show for SmackDown superstars and WWE superstars a show for Raw.
Yeah, one way, it's not going to matter to me. I'm not watching either one of them. There's enough on Raw. 3 fucking hours. They don't need an extra one. But, yeah, guys, that's it for this episode of the show. And we'll catch you guys next week. Thank you for listening in. Thank you for calling, all of our callers. Thank you to the people who chatted in the chat box, too. Whatever way in which you interact with the show, we love it, and we do greatly appreciate it. So thank you all, and catch you later.
Later days.